Breanna Carrington stabbed Caitlin Clark with her fingernails right in the eye.
It didn't bother me. Obviously, it didn't feel too good when it happened, but it is what it is.
I wouldn't intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me, but no, I didn't. I didn't know I hit her, actually.
90 seconds. That's all it took for Caitlin Clark's playoff debut to take a dramatic turn. The Fever's rising star hit the ground, clutching her face in agony.
Finds Boston. Clark gets hit in the face by Carrington and is down. Caitlin Clark is down.
The clock stopped, but her pain didn't.
She is able to deliver the basketball.
As teammates rushed to her aid, fans held their breath. Upon review, the culprit was revealed. Connecticut Sun's Breanna Carrington, who poked Clark directly in the eye. But the refs? They were silent. No foul.
To turn her hand down and her fingernails and jab them right into the eye of Caitlin Clark. No foul call. No refs stopping the game to go, is this a flagrant?
Play continued as if nothing had happened. Clark's pain was evident, but her spirit? Unbreakable. She briefly went to the bench to gather herself and, like the fighter she is, returned to the court. But the damage was done. The black eye was already forming, and Clark's first half performance reflected the hit. 0 for 6 from beyond the arc, 1 for 9 from the field. 3 points, just 3. Fans knew something was wrong and speculation ran wild. How could the referees miss such a blatant foul? But the drama didn't end there. Later in the game, the tables turned. Clark accidentally hit Carrington in the eye, knocking out her contact lens. And what did Carrington say, mic'd up for all to hear?
In the eye in the first half. You hear Dejanay say on anybody else that's a follow-through foul.
The hypocrisy sent Fever fans into a frenzy. Didn't you black her eye with no foul called? One fan wrote furiously. And now you're complaining about a whistle? The backlash was swift, with fans pointing out Carrington's long history of aggressive play. This wasn't the first time she'd clashed with Clark, and it likely wouldn't be the last. As Clark fought through the pain, it became clear. This game wasn't just physical, it was personal. The black eye only fueled the fire between these two competitors. And fans, they're now demanding Clark to speak out. But if history tells us anything, her response will likely come on the court. September 22nd was supposed to be Caitlin Clark's big moment, her playoff debut. But instead, it turned into a battle, not just against the Sun, but against pain, unfair calls, and an opponent who always seems to push her limits. Sound familiar? It should. Last year, Breanna Stewart faced the same brutal fate. Against the same team, the Connecticut Sun. A black eye, a bruised ego, and a battle that left a mark, both physically and mentally. The only difference? The player delivering the hit. For Stewart, it was 5X All-Star Alyssa Thomas who delivered the blow after a block, leaving Stewie on the ground, clutching her swollen left eye in agony.
For the Liberty, and on the flip side of things for the Sun, about 18 seconds ago.
Fast forward to Caitlin Clark's playoff debut, and the story repeats itself, but this time, it's Breanna Carrington who plays the villain. Clark, much like Stewart, hit the ground, writhing in pain after being poked in the eye. Different faces, same story. Up next, we have Jason Whitlock's reaction to Caitlin Clark's controversy. Following the Fever's crushing 69-93 defeat, the attention quickly shifted from Caitlin Clark's performance to a heated debate sparked by none other than Jason Whitlock. Whitlock didn't hold back. In a fiery post, he voiced his concerns about the conduct of certain players, and more importantly, took issue with the league's rules.
Dejanay has a history with Caitlin Clark, like many of these girls in the WNBA, but she's at the top of the list along with Kennedy Carter in Chicago and Angelreese. Those three.
He wasn't just talking about gameplay, he took aim at the WNBA's regulatory body, pointing the finger at their decision to allow players to wear long nails on the court. For Whitlock, the stakes were higher than just missed calls. His frustration didn't stop with the WNBA. He called out ESPN, the league's broadcast partner, accusing them of brushing off the incident during halftime and post-game discussions.
There was no foul call. There was no real discussion of it on the ESPN broadcast. ESPN wrote a story after the game that did not mention that the biggest star in the history of the WNBA.
Why was Whitlock so adamant? Because this incident left Clark nursing a potential injury for the entire first quarter, putting the Fever at a major disadvantage early on. The aftermath? A 24-point blowout loss. When a comparison is drawn between professional basketball and mixed martial arts, it's clear. This debate is far from over. Whitlock's call for tighter regulations has put the spotlight on more than just this game, raising questions about player safety, league rules, and accountability. But there's one burning question that hooks the readers as Clark's up for Game 2 against Sun. How will she respond in Game 2? Well, an ESPN analyst seems to have an answer, and they're backing it up with stats. It's been over 4 months since WNBA draft number 1 pick Caitlin Clark made her explosive debut, and the buzz hasn't died down since. But on September 22nd, as she stepped into her playoff debut against the Connecticut Sun, something felt oddly familiar. Clark's expected dominance, nowhere to be found. The Indiana Fever rookie, playing 36 minutes, struggled to break free from Connecticut's grasp, proving that in the postseason, experience does reign supreme. But is it over for Clark? Absolutely not. Clark has been here before. A disappointment like this? That's just fuel for the fire. And if history tells us anything, she's about to bounce back in a major way. Don't just take my word for it. ESPN analyst Monica McNutt broke it down perfectly.
Clark. Now, Caitlin has a track record of when she has low-scoring games, which we haven't seen many of, she bounces back with plus 25-point performance. Right.
And McNutt isn't just talking. The stats back her up. Time and time again, Clark has turned lackluster performances into show-stopping comebacks. Just look at her rookie year. 9 points against the Liberty in her second game, followed by 22. 8 points against Vegas. She exploded for 30 against LA next. Even her worst game of the season, a 3-point outing, led to her dropping 30 in the next game. So, what does this tell us? After a quiet 11-point night in Game 1, the stage is set for Clark to make her move in Game 2. But Game 2, it's not just another bounce-back game. This one decides everything. It's win or go home for the Fever, and all eyes are on Clark. Will she rise to the occasion, or will Connecticut continue to shut her down? The Suns' defense was relentless. As McNutt pointed out, DeWanna Bonner's incredible length, paired with head coach Stephanie White's strategy, was designed to stifle Indiana at the source, and their source is Caitlin Clark. Connecticut's physicality was undeniable.
The Connecticut Sun is a really, really good team. They're a really good team with a lot of experience, and they know what it takes to step up to that next level, that playoff level.
The number 1 defense in the league was everywhere. They've been a top 3 defensive team in 4 of the last 5 seasons, and they didn't give the Fever an inch. But remember, this is Caitlin Clark we're talking about, the AP Rookie of the Year, someone you can never, ever count out. Offensively, Marina Mabrey provided a spark with a playoff record 27 points off the bench, but even that wasn't enough to overcome the Sun. Now everything falls on Clark's shoulders. If the Fever pull off a win in Game 2, they'll bring this series back to Indiana for a must-watch Game 3. The question is, can Caitlin Clark turn this series around? Wednesday night, everything's on the line. Will we witness the comeback of the season?